Hi everybody, my name is Ayla and I'm a 9E grade student. And today I'll be talking about my personal project, my experience, my challenges, and about how I was coping with stress and overall about my experience throughout the 7 month. So firstly, I would like to begin by talking about my topic, which is peer pressure, and where I got my inspiration, my motivation from. So one of my main motivations and ideas where I got this comes from my childhood and comes from how I was coping with peer pressure in my childhood. So I'm ready to teach the younger generation and how to not get under bad influence, through the easy and very informal posters. So throughout my childhood, I've not really been taught on how to decline people's offers and how to not get into bad situations and how to overall get out of them. So I was really inspired by that to teach our younger generation. So because as the research showed, not everybody in Azerbaijan is aware about this topic. So then I used my personal project opportunity to talk about this topic overall and how to spread the awareness. So I began by creating posters, which are going to be for the elementary school kids and overall for teenagers, so they can know how to deal with that. So I would like to begin talking about my main challenges, my struggles, and how I was coping with all of them. So as I mentioned before, my primary source was digital research, and as we know, the internet is really big, and finding really reliable information was is really hard. So, due to all the information sources, starting with books and ending with some small websites where the information was not very helpful, and just to copy paste all the information is going to be really boring for the teenagers to read, and especially for the elementary kids. So, I took everything into my hands and I pasted all the information to one document and started reading all of it one by one, and then I started digesting the information and actually coming up with good advices and with good information which would actually be interesting and which is really helpful. So, and since one of my main goals was to understand the mindset of the person who was always dragged into peer pressure, into alcohol drinking, into drug taking, and into smoking, I had to come up with good solutions how to get the person out of there. So I had to come up with good advices and also read experiences of the people and how they were coping with that. I can tell for sure that throughout the project, my communication skills have expanded. I use my communication skills in many areas. As the main part where I used my communication skills was collaborating with others throughout the social media networks and encouraging others to contribute in this project and give them chance of educating themselves by my posters and then leaving and then have giving them chance to leave feedback on my work. Second part where I used my communication skills with my supervisor when she was leaving feedback on my works, giving me advices, helping me in the world, like guiding me over through the project. And the third part where I used my communication skills was with the readers of my blog, because my main idea was creating a blog of my posters, and where the readers gave their feedbacks and I was able to communicate with few of them and call the contact and give them actual advices. So it was really good knowing their opinions, knowing how to improve myself in this area, and overall knowing their experience and their ideas. As I've mentioned before, I was posting my posters in my blog, which for which I use padlet.com, and the link for my website is listed in my report. So as you can see, I posted all my posters here, and you can see that people were commenting and liking my posters and leaving their feedbacks. And I was even able to contact few people and tell them advices and talk about their problems. But since they asked me to keep it kind of personal, I cannot share this because of privacy concerns. And you can see the continue and where I posted the rest of my posters and still the comments and the likes. And here's the continue of it. We began this project on the most important grade in ninth grade, where we decide our subjects, where we have most important summatives and most important grades. And we began this project on the at the same time, and many students are not managing their mental health and not managing their school, social, and the project life on time, and they're not being able to meet all the deadlines. That was my one of my main struggles, time management. But thankfully, I got again the very best advice from my supervisor, and she advised me to create a schedule where I would plan my days. I had specific 2 days on the week where I would do only my personal project and separate my time only for posters. For example, collect my information or do a deeper research or begin designing my posters. And the other days were separated on my social life, on my studies, on my summatives, and which helped me a lot because I was able to manage my mental health. I was able to manage all my hobbies, my small business, and my homeworks and my studies on time, and not failing, and actually meeting all the deadlines on time. Since I started talking about my self organization skills and self management skills, I would like to mention how much success criteria has helped me throughout the whole project because I had to knew exactly, and that actually helps me a lot. How much words am I going to have in my essay, or for example, how much posters am I going to have by the end of the project, or how much time am I going to spend on the whole project itself, or how much weekdays am I going to spend on the project itself. So success criteria was the thing which I did from the very first beginning. So it kind of guided me and kind of helped me to know when my final project is going to be ready, how my final project should look like. So I'm really happy that I got this opportunity and that it guided me a lot. So, as I've mentioned, my challenge one was all about digesting information and coming up with good advices, and keeping actually the good information which would be interesting for the readers. So the challenge two was all about designing the posters itself. So I had to come up with good ideas of posters which were not already published, so in which kids will be interested in. So I had to do that, and I actually watched a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to work with Canva. That's the website which I use for all of my posters. So I watched a lot of tutorials on how that works and how to make eye-catching posters so the kid will stop by and read the information and then give their feedback. I mentioned in my challenge one that I had struggles of filtering the information in correct way, and if the information was actually reliable. So I want to talk about it more deeper and talk about how I was actually filtering all the information. So I realized that from my personal experience when I was studying in public school, I met a lot of toxic people, a lot of toxic teachers who peer pressured on me in bad way, even teachers, even students, and I had gotten into bad groups as a kid, so I had to mainly rely on my personal experience and come up with good advices from my personal experience. So that was kind of my main help with coping and like with solving all of my questions and actually asking myself, Ayla, is this information really reliable, or is it just some random information from some random dude or not? So that was what I actually used a lot.